Welcome back to Retro Wednesday, the Tidarium Hangar. This is Mike, and today I've got a top 10 list of my favorite franchises I'd like to see Neca make. Neca is a company that makes $30 figures at retail, but they look amazing. Yes, some of them do have some quality assurance issues, but overcoming all of that, they look absolutely amazing for the $30 price point, and they represent a lot of vintage lines. They're currently working on Back to the Future, and those figures just are outstanding. They are doing a fantastic job right now with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I do believe that they are still the best looking toon-accurate turtles on the market for $30 versus Super 7 and their $50-something. And I think Playmates is coming out with something, but none of them really look this good. They're doing a monster line. They've got the Frankenstein or the Frankenstein monster out, and that thing looks fantastic. And they also are doing a great job with the Terminator figures and really going deep on Terminator. Not only do these figures look great, but they're also packed with awesome accessories. So today I'm going to talk to you about my top 10 list of mostly 80 but vintage properties I'd like to see them make coming up. So before we get into my official list here, I'd like to see Neca put back out their Rambo and the RoboCop. And actually, I'd like to see them do a little bit better job on the Rambo. Some of the updates like they've done with the Terminator figures, they've actually updated and improved some of those Terminator figures over the original releases. But that RoboCop is really an excellent RoboCop, and I like to see it out again. Number 10 on my list is BraveStarr. Now, BraveStarr is probably not the most popular franchise out there, but that's one of the things that Neca does well. Neca, they go after some obscure type of lines and obscure things that wouldn't get made otherwise, and that's what makes Neca such a great company. The 3030 horse in the vintage line is an extremely fragile piece of work. It falls apart, it breaks very easily, and so to have something modern, yeah, maybe Neca's will fall apart and break too, but to have something, a modern representation that actually matches the correct size and scale next to a BraveStarr and looks amazing is something I'd like to see. They could flesh it out with several of the different characters, and they could probably reuse parts between them and make several different characters that were never made in the original toy line. Would be a whole lot of fun. Number 9 on my list is going to be Bionic 6, another relatively obscure toy line, but I think this toy line would sell simply on the amazing looks itself. Even people that don't know about the franchise would see it and probably want to research, hey, what is this? Where did this come from? But the color choices they made back then and just the way they look and the way they would present would sell themselves. They look amazing. The designs are amazing, and I'd really like to see what Neca does with it. I see a lot of people make amazing customs, and every time I see a custom, I think, we need this. We need a modern representation of these figures, and really, there's not a need to make them in the 3.75 inch scale. They really need to be made in the 6 to 7 inch Neca scale, and that would look fantastic on a shelf. There's only 13 figures, there's 12 figures, and then there's the fluffy robot. Neca's known for also making robots. They made the RoboCop Ed 209 and a few things like that, so would be really exciting. I'd love to see these, and I think they'd sell themselves. Number 8 on my list today is going to be Tron, and I really want the clear versions. Now, Diamond Select currently is making these, and so like this might be a future thing. The Diamond Select ones are okay, but I just don't know how to explain. I don't think they're the greatest ones and the greatest possibility of making them, and I don't know how long the license is going to be held by Diamond Select, but I would like to see Neca take a stab at it. Diamond Select is also making their clear versions, and I do think they look pretty good, but I already have the solid versions. I think these are simply just recasts of the exact same thing that they've already made. I don't know 100%, but I'd like to get them in hand and check them out also. But still, I'd like to see them widely available, and this is just an exclusive. These clear ones are exclusive. I'm pretty sure Neca would make clear ones that would be at retail all of the time and really easy to get, and the price point, well, the price point for Diamond Select is actually really good. Number 7 on my list is the 1997 Starship Troopers. Now, this is vintage, but well, it's 20-something years ago. But this is a toy line that was not very great at the time, and it grows to be a hard toy line to collect. Now, those bugs go for extremely high amounts of money, but seeing these characters in the 6 or 7 inch size frame from Neca would be outstanding. They would look great, and there are so many characters that they can make, and they could reuse a lot of parts and all that stuff, but we could flesh out a really nice looking Starship Trooper shelf, but I bet you they'd give us the bug. The bug itself is so expensive and hard to get from the vintage line, and if NECA could put a bug out at an affordable price and make it a mainline item, that would sell like crazy. And it is just an interesting type of a movie and a franchise that has a bit of a cult following, and that's right up NECA's alley. Number 6 on my list is going to be Thundar the Barbarian. And yeah, it's still something that's relatively obscure, but that's right in NECA's pocket, in NECA's zone. Toynami did make some figures a few years back, I think 2003, and those figures go for a lot of money on the secondary market, but they only made 3 figures, and those 3 figures, I think NECA would do a better job, and it would look better. But again, these are all that you have right now if you're a Thundar the Barbarian collector, and I'd like NECA to do it and dial out a whole line. Number 5 on my list is the A-Team. And of course, we'd want some representations of the original cast of the A-Team, and it would be outstanding. Now, I'm sure there's some obstacles for licensing right there, but it would be a great looking shelf. And of course, you'd have the 4 main characters. They'd have a few other side characters in there too, but they would do what they like to do, and you'd have all kinds of different goofy Hannibal outfits and stuff like that, and there'd be a few different face outfits, and Mr. T, it would just be awesome. It would be outstanding. See BA in a couple of different versions of BA, all the different head sculpts that they do, all the different expressions. That would be so much fun, and that would sell very well. I also enjoyed the A-Team movie, so if they wanted to do a little bit of that, and they wanted to include some likenesses from those guys, of course, that would be more trouble for licensing, but that'd be fun too. Number 4 on my list is Kenner Mask, and this is going to pose a challenge. So NECA makes 7-inch figures, 6-inch, right around that size there, and these figures were originally about 2 inches. And the thing about it is that in Mask, it's more or less the vehicles are the star and the figures are the accessory. But wouldn't it look great to flesh out your shelf with the figures? And they could make a couple of the smaller vehicles. It would be possible. This would be a challenge, and could NECA step up to the challenge? Would they even bother? There's a lot of really talented customizers out there that have made their own, and they look great. And of course, every time I see them, I wonder who could make these in the modern line. I mean, it seems like Hasbro doesn't care if they truly hold the license. They should, but they should hold the license. They have Kenner. But do they, and why don't they do anything with it? Hasbro should pass that torch to someone like NECA and let NECA take a shot at it, a stab at it. Just a shelf of these figures would look amazing. Now, I don't think they'd make every single one, but then again, don't underestimate NECA. Over a long span of time, they could flesh out the shelf with every single character. Number 3 on my list is Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris and the Texas Ranger. He's actually done several different characters, and some of these other movies that he's made, I like those characters a little bit more. I think the Lone Wolf McQuade is my favorite Chuck Norris character of all time. I could probably watch that movie over and over, and it is outstanding. Although there's memorable characters aside from Chuck Norris, I don't know how deep NECA would go with making the other characters. I think they'd make 1 or 2 other characters. But it really makes sense that they could make one Chuck Norris and a whole bunch of different characters, and it'd be worthwhile. It'd be a lot of fun. I'd like to have that on my Chuck Norris Karate Commando shelf. So number 2 on my list is Mad Max, and there's a lot of reasons this is high on the list. First off, it's very iconic, very recognizable, but they could actually reuse a lot of parts from some of their other figures. It would be very simple and easy for them to pull off to make a great looking Mad Max. But you wouldn't just have Max. You wouldn't just have Max with all of his different heads. In addition to the Mad Max with his beat up look and all of the other characters that they could flesh out, they could really make a nice looking shelf with this. There are some extremely iconic characters out there that they could make, and they could do all kinds of different characters and different figures based off of 3 different movies, well, 4 movies now. They could go really deep in this line if they chose to do it. Mad Max is so deep into the 80s pop culture, I'm shocked that we haven't seen figures from Mad Max in modern representation today. It just shocks me that we don't have them. or if somebody made them, I completely missed that boat. The only thing I see is in the year 2000, we have a smaller toy line from some Into Toys, and they're okay looking, but I think NECA's would be so much better, so much more amazing, and so much more impressive with modern day sculpts. So number 1 on the list would be Indiana Jones. Now, that is one of the highly sought after Kenner vintage toy lines, and it's really hard to get the vintage ones, but having a modern day representation of Indiana Jones and all of the different characters that they would flesh out for a shelf would be outstanding. It would be a lot of fun to see all these characters in a 6 or 7 inch form made by NECA. We've seen Hasbro reboot the franchise, and the sales weren't the greatest at the 3.75 inch scale, but I really think NECA would dial into this and do it right. I think that it would be very popular, and I also think that just seeing it on the store shelves, just like we do today with Back to the Future, with the Terminator, and all of those, this is one that would be really exciting and really fun to have all the different movies, and we could see all of the different characters, and over a course of time, we could get a really deep line of figures and all of the great accessories that NECA would include. So definitely be a fun ride to go down and collect a whole line of Indiana Jones figures, and hopefully maybe some vehicles. They've done motorcycles in the past. They could probably do a motorcycle with it. They don't usually do full-on vehicles, so that's not an expectation with NECA, but maybe a motorcycle would work. So what would you include in this list? What did I leave off the list that you'd like to see NECA do that is from more or less a vintage line, a vintage franchise or property? And which of these did you agree with? Like and subscribe, comment below. Tiberium Hanger out.